Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Straight Outta Boston here, and today I'm back with episode number 2 of my New Orleans Pelicans MyLeague series here on NBA 2K17. So today I've got the first gameplay episode for this series, and we're taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. This is, let's see, 33 games into the year. This is game number 34, so about, a little more than a third of the way into the NBA season. And I've talked a bit about the structure of how I want to do this series in the last episode, but for year one, I'm only going to be playing 1 or 2 games, and that might increase as the years go on. But for the most part, I want to keep this a simulation-based series where I play games occasionally and probably play in the playoffs as well. Whenever we get there, if we get there, I'm going to say whenever we get there because I have confidence in myself to be able to rebuild this team. And if you missed the last episode, through the first 33 games, we weren't actually playing too poorly. We were at one point, I want to say 13-8, and then now we're 14-19. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about how we started and how we performed since then. And it hasn't really been injury related. I think a lot of it has kind of just been guys maybe regressing to their normal, capability, so to say. As we saw with the statistics in the last episode, how guys like Evans' numbers dropped as the weeks went on. Even Davis's numbers dropped a little bit, and Drew Holiday really hasn't gotten it going. And then after those 3 guys, not a ton of quality players on this roster past those 3 guys, and that's, the reason why I wanted to take on the Pelicans is because past Anthony Davis, they really don't have building blocks on this roster, and you can argue Holiday and Evans might be building blocks, but I would argue those guys, maybe are better served as trade chips for this team long term. And I think, I've talked about it a little bit, but if I could get first round picks for either or both of those guys when we approach trade deadline time, then I could potentially have 2 or 3 lottery picks in this upcoming draft, assuming my pick ends up in the lottery as well, because we've quickly fallen out of the playoff picture at 14-19, and not that it's unrealistic for us to, I guess unrealistic is the word, but not that it would be unrealistic for us to make the playoffs at this point, but, it just seems less than likely is how I would put it. But I decided to play the Clippers in this game. The Clippers jumped out to that really fast start this year. I think they were like 10-1 or something, and they've kind of regressed a little bit back to, much like the Pelicans did in this series, but they've regressed a little bit maybe back to the mean. But they're still a very good team, a team that I think, everyone thinks is going to be right there in the conference semis again, probably playing San Antonio in the second round, with the winner, of course, getting to face Golden State in the conference championship, but the conference finals. This isn't the NFL, baby. But anyway, as I was saying, so Clippers are a very good team, and probably not. I mean, this might be one of the first full 2K games. It might actually be the first full 2K game I've played on 2K17. I think the only actual other games I played have all been Pro-Am games or my career games. So I was definitely rusty. I definitely, I haven't played online or anything, so I kind of was getting back into it, and you can tell by the first half I was not really playing very well. I ended up going down 51-33 at the break, but, at the same time, we're definitely overmatched. Our roster is definitely not as good as LA's. I mean, being down by 18 at home at the half, any team is kind of inexcusable, unless maybe you're playing the Warriors when Klay Thompson's dropping 60 points in 3 quarters, even though that game wasn't Golden State, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, our team might be doing poorly, but we have sick halftime shows, so that's really all that counts. Into the third quarter now, you can see we're rocking the NOLA uniforms. I really like these. Probably going to rock them a lot, to be honest. I think they are pretty cool. I do like the yellow socks as well. And just the old colorway. I don't really like the new Pelicans colors, but these are kind of more of a throwback. Not really to the old Hornets colors, but kind of a twist on them a little bit. Similar sort of shades, I guess, but either way, got the lead down to 16. Now it's Davis popping out there. He's going to hit the jumper. We get it down to 14. So coming out of the gates here in the second half, playing a little bit better. But this guy was killing us all night long. Jamal Crawford. He is one of those classic players who was way better in 2K than he is in real life. And, I mean, those guys are in the game literally every year. It's kind of usually one of my biggest complaints about 2K. And Crawford, I think, dropped 20 some odd points on like 60 or 70% shooting, which, I mean, Crawford's a 40% shooter now. He pretty much is just a chucker. I really would be surprised. I've been surprised he hasn't been traded in the past from LA, but I don't know. They haven't made a ton of change to that roster over the last 4 or 5 years, which has kind of surprised me. But 20-point game once again now. You can see Tim Frazier in the game. Someone made a comment about Tim Frazier, telling me how I should keep him and develop around him. Now, I mean, that's a little unrealistic because Frazier's like a mid-70s overall player, and he's not going to develop into a starting caliber player in this game. But in the small bits and pieces that I got to use him in this game, and, keep in mind this is the only game I played with this team so far, but I was pretty impressed by Frazier. He made some shots. He created some plays with the second unit. and I certainly could see him sticking around as a backup point guard, a third or fourth guard off the bench. Definitely a guy who could be a part of our second unit for the next few years, but we'll see on that. And this team has some guys like that. Here's another Langston Galloway, who was, you know, solid for the Knicks as a rookie last year, and I think showed promise as a potential role player. So, you know, there are some guys on this roster that I like and that I think are worth keeping around, but, you know, our big men are just terrible. Omer Asik is just unusable, and Quincy Pondexter's not very good, and Monty Eunice, I was kind of disappointed that. I didn't shoot very well with him in this game, but anyway, we closed it to 12, and that would be the final. We actually got it down to 10 at one point, so I definitely played better in the second half, and the Clippers probably took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit, but still, I'm sure the next time I play with this team won't be quite so bad. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do an episode after the trade deadline. It's probably going to depend on what happens at the trade deadline. You know, if we just trade for picks, like I'm kind of imagining we do, then I don't really see the point in playing another game if we don't really add anything to this roster, because honestly, getting my butt kicked by another good Western Conference team is not something I really desire to do. But Davis had a nice game, 22-7 on 14 shots. Also, I was playing on 10-minute quarters this game. I think I'm going to up that to 12 just because the score was a little low. And I know the NBA is filled with those high-scoring games these days. But anyway, that is going to do it. So hope you guys did enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.